Hey there YouTube, it's Michael with Xeno Tech Tutorials again. This week I'm going to be going over cloud-based user and domain management, adding and removing users through the portal and through PowerShell as well as well as bulk importing of users through a CSV. I'm not going to cover bulk importing through PowerShell today, maybe at a different time for that, but let's get started on this. So for the users, I have the options here: add, delete, edit, and reset a password. These are the quick links here. I'm going to go to my active users page just to show you what it looks like. So I've got the display name, the username, and the status, which will show the license assigned. It'll show unlicensed, or if there's an issue with the user, it'll just show error. And then you can correct it from there. So if I just want to add an individual user, I hit add user here, and then I get the options here. First name, last name, display name, and username are required. You choose the domain that you want it to use. Usage location is needed for license assignment because different services vary based off of location. Pretty much everything is here. Contact information, you don't actually need to fill this out. This is just if you have that information to do so. Passwords, you can either choose to have 365 auto-generate an alphanumeric password, or you can create one for the user, and then you can choose whether or not it's a permanent password. If it's a temporary password, it cannot be used to configure Outlook or mobile devices. It needs to be changed to a permanent password, meaning either the admin needs to check this box when they're creating the user, or the end user needs to sign in and create a permanent password. So once that's there, the roles are for the admin roles, if the user is meant to be an administrator or not, and then the licenses are the licenses that you currently have on your tenant. I only have one E3 license, which is already signed to my admin account. This EMS license, the Enterprise Mobility Suite, is actually expired. It's just waiting to go into a deep provision state, or I can just create without a license. I'm going to cancel out of that for now and show you bulk importing of users. So I go to more, and I'm not going to cover multi-factor authentication right now. I'll cover that at a different time, and directory synchronization I might cover next week. But to import multiple users, this is through a CSV. You can download a CSV with just the headings on them, or you can download them with sample information. Now I have this one here, and although they give you a lot of columns, you don't actually need to fill out everything. Once again, country or region, you need that to assign licenses. Other than that, you need username, first name, last name, and display name. Username needs to actually have the full domain on it. You know, for instance, mine was test.user@michaelazure.com. If you don't have a full domain of something that's verified in your 365 tenant, the portal is going to give you an invalid domain error. I'm trying to import the CSV. So I'm going to go ahead and browse out to that CSV. And this here, sign in allowed, sign in blocked, pretty self-explanatory on that. Assign user licenses. Once again, usage location, and I'm going to do it without a license. This is if I want the password emailed to me or not, or I can just download the CSV. Like I said, it is emailed to you in plain text, just keep that in mind, and then you need to give that to the end user. I'm not going to do that because this is just a test user anyway. So test user's there. So now I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Pretty easy on that. So now I'm going to touch on a little bit of PowerShell, because when we go here, we go into deleted users and we see the user here. This user will sit there for 30 days unless we forcefully remove it. Now there is a PowerShell module you need called the Windows Azure Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell, or just Windows Azure AD PowerShell. If you basically just Google that and click on the first link that's not an ad link on Google, then you should get it, but I'm going to put it in the description anyway. I always run this as admin just to avoid permission issues on the local machine. So I can either open up the PowerShell module itself, which is this black window here for the Azure AD PowerShell module, or in the regular PowerShell, I can run import-module, and you see how that completed there. What I did is I hit Tab, which is a regular PowerShell function, not just in relation to 365 or Azure AD. If Windows sees it can complete the command when you hit Tab, then it will, and if there's multiple options for it, then it'll just cycle through them alphabetically, which I'll show you when I connect. So import-module, and the name of that module is MS Online. connect-msol service. Once again, I'm going to tab that out. This has to be a global admin account. A regular user account will not work. Another level admin won't work. Has to be a global admin account on 365. So what I mentioned before about PowerShell tabbing out commands. So say I just say set-msol. Well, there's a lot of options that this can be. So I say set-msol ADFS context, administrative unit, company contact information, and it'll just cycle through them alphabetically, basically. So I'm going to go over removing this test user from 365. So this is in the deleted users. So I would run a command called remove-msol user. Now say I just say remove-msol user test.user@michaelazure.com. If I don't include, if I do not include the force switch here, then it's going to ask me for each one that I do. So I do that, and I forgot an attribute there. You need to specify, unlike I did, the user printable name attribute. Then test.user@michaelazure.com. Enter, or hit Y to confirm. And see, it's saying that it can't find it because it's in the deleted users. But now, if I specify remove from recycle bin, then it knows to look in the recycle bin, and then it will actually delete it. Now, once again, if I don't want to be prompted every single time, because if you have multiple users in here, to delete all of them at once, you can run get-msol user, and once again return. And now what you have to do is you have to do return deleted users, and then you pipe that command into remove-msol user, remove from recycle bin, and then force, because if you have a lot of users in here, you don't want to be prompted for 10, 15, 20 users, each one to confirm. Now, say you have 1,000 or over 1,000 users in here. What you can do is you can specify max results, and then let's just go with 100,000. So this will pull 100,000 users out of deleted items and then remove them. Now, how long this takes depends on how many users are in there. Obviously, I had already removed this test user. I just had to refresh this. I had already removed that test user, so there's nothing in there, but it'll take time depending on how many users are there. So it may seem to be stuck. It's not. As long as this little cursor here is still blinking, it's running. So that's there. So let's go ahead and take a look at domain management now. I go into settings down here and then domains. Now, if you try to go and you click on the buy a domain, you'll search for a domain, and then it'll actually bring you to a GoDaddy interface to buy them. This setup in progress is set like this because I intend to tie this to an Azure deployment. So I haven't actually set the DNS records in place, but it is verified. You don't actually have anything to do with this one. This will always stay as setup complete. If this is anything but setup complete, you should probably just call support, because that is that's on Microsoft. So I want to go ahead and add a domain. For the sake of the video, I'm going to use azonetechtutorials.com, although I'm going to remove this afterwards because I'll be tying this to a different tenant in the future. Okay, and I think I typed that wrong because it should have done something else. Alright, just give me a second here. That messed up a bit there. Okay, so I'm going to actually, and this is deleting, you just click it and remove it basically. But you cannot remove a domain if it has services tied to it, like users or email addresses or things like that. You have to disassociate those first. Okay, that's good. So it gives me the option, because it's a GoDaddy registered domain, I can sign into GoDaddy, or I can do the TXT verification record. If you have questions on as far as adding DNS records to your DNS registrar, you're going to want to talk to your registrar about that. So let's say I do a TXT record. I hit next, and it'll actually give me the record, and your record will look something like this. Only the numbers here should be different. The 4688 here, these numbers will be different. The rest is pretty much the same. But I don't want to do that. Let's go back, and let's say I just want to do this for the sake of the video. So it's going to bring me here, and I actually just sign into GoDaddy here, and it'll do the verification for me. So I'm going to sign in on my other screen to avoid showing that information. Confirm access, basically giving Microsoft permission to go into GoDaddy. Hit accept there. It's going to go ahead and verify it based off my credentials. And then I get to the DNS record screen. Now, I can either say do the DNS records for me, because once again, they'll do it for me because it's GoDaddy. But I'm going to say I'll add the record myself. And you can also skip this step if you don't want to add the records right now. Say you have an existing setup on premise or some other third-party email service and you just want to verify the domain, but you don't want to redirect mail flow and things like that. You can just exit this and come back to it later. I'm already at the point, because I've already verified it, where I can create users at the domain to log in. Basically, when you're creating users through the CSV, you just specify the new domain at that point, or if you're doing it through the portal, that drop down that had my .microsoft.com domain will include the new domain. The MX record is for internet mail flow coming to your Office 365 tenant to direct it. The autodiscover.outlook.com is for client configuration, Outlook clients, and mobile phones. SIP and Link Discover are for Skype for Business. MSOID is a client configuration record for Outlook. Enterprise registration and enterprise enrollment are the Enterprise Mobility Suite licenses, which, like I said, is still showing it for me because it hasn't deprovisioned yet. And the SRV records are also for Skype for Business, and the TXT record is the anti-spoofing record, basically just proving to receiving email servers that Microsoft has permission to send on behalf of your domain. So I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to go ahead and just get this domain out of here. I have no reason for it to be in there. So I'm going to go over now a few things in PowerShell, and that's really going to be about it for today. Sorry, this is an old PowerShell window. So what I'm going to do is, there is a link I'm going to put in the description for the Windows Azure Active Directory module for PowerShell. You can see it right here. I always right-click and run as admin, just to avoid permission issues. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into the regular Windows PowerShell, run as administrator, and I'm going to run a command that will basically import that other module into into this window. So import dash module, and you see that command completed there on its own. What I actually did is I hit tab on the keyboard. PowerShell itself, not just in relation to 365, if you hit tab and it recognizes that a command can be completed through that, it will complete it for you. The name of that module is MS Online. So now that module is in there, and then I run connect dash MSOL service. This set of credentials has to be a global admin set. No other admin will work, and user won't work. None of that will work. So let's touch on a couple things. So first of all, let's just say I want to add a new user in 365. So it's going to be new dash MSOL user. I need to specify the user principal name. So let's just do test.user again, since I deleted that one, I can reuse it. I need to specify the display name, which is going to be test user. I need to specify the first name, which is going to be test, and the last name is going to be user. Okay, what I actually need to do, because I have a space on the display name, I need to put this in quotations so that it actually recognizes it as one object. So now, I have this user there. So let's say I want to set this user's password now. Set-msol user password. I need to specify the user principal name again. test.user@michaelazure.com. And then I'll use a switch of new password. And doesn't really matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to delete this user later on anyway. And then say I want that to be the permanent password. Right now, if I hit enter and I log in with the user, I'm going to have to change the password when I log in. To avoid that, I use the switch of force change password, set it to false. It's by default set to true. Do that. Now see, it's not letting me set that particular password because it does not meet the strong password requirements. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you how to set, or rather how to turn off strong password requirements. So set-msol user principal name test.user@michaelazure.com. Strong password required switch, set it to false. And that may take a little bit of time to set in, but basically the idea of that, I apologize that that's not working. The idea of it basically is it takes away the strong password requirements. But I'm going to use a strong password just for the sake of the video for now. Uppercase letter, lowercase letter, numerical value, and I think requires a special character. So that should be fine. Actually, I'm going to take out the dollar signs because PowerShell might recognize those as variables. Okay. Let me just do something else here. I apologize, it's not working because of the way PowerShell sees a lot of special characters. There. So then that sets it to that, and then I can go from there, and now I can log in as that user. Now, if I go to my active users page, I now see this test user here. So now let's say I want to delete this user. Remove dash msol user, specify the user principal name again, confirm, and then it deletes it out of here, or rather will delete it out of there in a minute. Sometimes the portal takes a little bit to catch up to the back end, but what I can do is get dash msol user, return deleted users, and I see this test user is now a deleted user. And if I just run get dash msol user, all I see is my admin account. And see, now it's gone out of there, and it's in here. So now I want to delete it out of here. If I just run remove dash msol user again, it doesn't see it anymore because it's in the recycle bin. So if I want to delete everything in the recycle bin, get dash msol user, and now I do return deleted users. Now say I have over 1,000. PowerShell will only pick up the first 1,000 unless you tell it to otherwise. So I would use the max results switch. Let's just say 100,000. Then I pipe that to remove dash msol user, and then I do remove from recycle bin. And then I can either do force or not. If you have to use this command, you're going to want to do force because otherwise it'll prompt you for every single user. If you have 800 users, it'll prompt you 800 times to confirm. If I just want to remove the individual user and I don't want to run the bulk command, I can do get dash, sorry, not get dash, do remove dash msol user, specify the user principal name again, remove from recycle bin so it knows where to look. And looks like it's not. And that's because I put a comma there. test.user@michaelazure.com. And then once again, remove from recycle bin, force. Sorry about that, and I'm just going to clear out all this text for a minute. And then in about 30 seconds or so, it'll disappear from here. So now let's say we want to go ahead and add a domain in PowerShell. Go to domains here, and we see that we just have the two domains from before. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to specify new-msol domain, specify the name as xenotechtutorials.com. Now from here, what I want to run is the command to get the verification record. I want to run get-msol domain verification DNS, and then I specify the domain name. Sorry about that. And then I also need to specify the verification mode. There's two modes. There's TXT and MX. MX is not recommended as much because MX records are a lot more important and you don't want to edit those unless you need to. So I'm going to specify the mode, and I'm going to specify DNS TXT, and I can tab it out to DNS TXT record. This is then the record that I would put into my DNS registrar. Now let's say that I've actually done that. Even though I haven't, we're just gonna act like I have. So then I go to confirm-msol domain, domain name, now this is going to error out because I haven't done it yet. But basically I do that, and it just says that it can't find the record, which like I said, I expect it to. But basically it'll say that the domain is verified, and then it'll show up in this page here. And I can even go ahead and just refresh this here and show you that even though I didn't verify it, the domain is going to show up here as setup in progress. And now I want to go ahead and remove -msol domain, domain name, once again confirm, and within about 30 seconds this will disappear out of here as well. And that basically covers everything that I want to go over this week. Next week, I might touch on a little bit of how to integrate on-premise Active Directory with 365. I did actually go ahead and disable mine, so I can show you how to fully enable it. I want to go over that next week. I'm just going to be going over basic synchronization and password sync. I'll probably use another video entirely to go over what ADFS is and how that works. But that's about it for this week. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here. As always, let me know what you guys think. Other than that, I will talk to you guys next week.